Hello, and welcome to First Geek 411's book club. Before we get started, you can find us at all the social medias as One Geek 411. Come chat, let us know if there's a topic you want to discuss, or just say hi. You can chat with us at our Discord server, email us at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Check out our show notes on our website, onegeek411.com. Watch our regular podcast on Twitch every Monday night at 6:45, and find our videos on YouTube. Rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Shanine, and with me, I have Emma.
Hey friends, it's good to be here.
Hi. And Cameron.
Hello, always hyped for a book club night.
Woo woo. And Chris.
Nailed it.
Who may or may not be marooned by the end of this podcast.
Questionable.
It's a crazy one. We're having fun.
Yeah, we are.
We'll see. Wait, who's the captain now?
That's the real question.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, I would say by process of elimination,
Yeah.
Janine is the host. For
I
this
will
one,
burn
so
this
she's the
podcast down.
captain.
No one can stop me.
All right.
I'll be in the
This is gonna be
galley.
a wild one. We are talking about Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Oh shoot, I think I read the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
Hilarious.
Wait, we weren't. I thought we were reading Peter Pan. Darn it.
You're marooned. We're leaving you on the island.
Bye.
It's official.
I have the power here. There's a mute button in the upper right hand of your square.
Rude.
Click.
How dare you?
Okay.
Okay. Get into it. Treasure Island is the story of the young Jim Hawkins. He meets a mysterious pirate captain at his family's inn and gets pulled into plots of pirate revenge and searches for treasure. The voyage seems to start out well, but Jim overhears the cook, Long John Silver, plotting treachery with many of the other sailors. Their arrival at Treasure Island begins a fight for the treasure and their lives.
Perfect.
Yes,
Classic pirate adventure.
Yeah.
pretty much. What was everyone's first impressions?
So to
I loved
answer
it.
all 18 questions.
Yeah. To answer all questions at once.
You have 5 words. Go.
Classic pirate adventure with gold.
Barbecue is a bad nickname.
Should have been shorter.
Yeah, that too.
The treasure was the friends they made along the way.
I'm telling you, the treasure is the friends they made along the way. Like, it's perfect.
No.
My favorite part is that's like Deanna's least favorite joke. Is like the, and so I'm just super happy that she made that joke in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was the birth of all pirate tropes.
Yep.
Yes. And very obviously written in the 1800s.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes. So this was originally serialized in a children's magazine from 1881 to 1882.
This is a
Under-
children's story?
Yes, a children's magazine.
Yes, called
I
Young
can-
Folks.
I can see it.
I'm looking up the cover art for this magazine.
It was
Young
under the
Folks?
title Treasure Island or the Mutiny of the Hispaniola, written under the pseudonym of Captain George North. And it was first published in book form in 1883 under the title The Sea Cook, A Story for Boys. Stevenson specifically states that women are excluded from his story for a reason, because this story is for boys.
Wow.
Lame.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a wee little bit.
I mean, we get
Yeah.
what, one actual woman that has
The
a
mom.
Yeah, the
part,
mom is like the only significant female in the book.
Yeah.
and then mentions of the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is completely different than having a female
Right.
character.
So Young Folks was a children's literary magazine published in the UK between 1871 and 1897. Well, it's understandable why they barely made it at 20 years, or just over.
Yeah.
I will say, I think this would have been better serialized. Like, it's almost like that.
Mm.
Like, we've kind of had that discussion recently on the normal podcast about like some shows you want to binge, and then other shows are better if you just hit them in like smaller chunks.
Yep.
And this definitely feels one that, like, if every 2 weeks, every month, I was reading one of these chapters, like, oh, cool. But like getting through the whole thing, it was just like, this is just going. Like,
Or even similarly, like there's this whole trend going on recently where there are video game franchises that are being made into TV shows,
Mhm.
like or movies. Like there's some video games where like the world can be expanded on by that, and then there's others where it's just like you're just gonna ruin it and there's no way to make it work. I feel like it's very similar to that concept.
Mhm.
It sounds like this magazine started off as a children's finance magazine. What?
The UK was weird.
I
Be a
mean, it's good to
pirate
know
or
about
don't be a
these
pirate.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you're
called-
gonna get screwed over and just don't do it.
Children need to know where to put their investments.
Yeah.
Not GameStop right now.
Not GameStop.
I mean, GameStop like 3 months ago would have been a great one, though.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? I'll talk
No
about that
one.
more on Monday.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were your feelings on pirate stories before reading Treasure Island?
I mean, I've always loved pirate stories. Pirates are just something that I think are fun and whimsical. I wouldn't ever want to be a real life pirate because that's
Mhm.
like historically it's not ideal. But in terms of the like fictional fantasy around it, it's a topic and a world in its own. So it's something that I've just always loved and is there's a lot of mythology that goes into it. So
Mhm.
it's something I've always loved personally.
I've always thought too smart to be one.
Yeah.
I always like the more grounded pirate stories, or the ones that are like just a little off grounded. So, like, to use like Pirates of the Caribbean 1, where it's like that's like the limit of where I like my fantastical, and then it kind of just went crazy from there. But I really like the relatively grounded pirate, like exploring like those kinds of tropes.
Mhm.
I think that that's something that I've always enjoyed.
And it even goes into like the Uncharted games in some ways, I feel like.
I also feel like pirate stories are like the modern epic, so the modern Odyssey, or
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and things like that. Just because it incorporates these crazy things from possible anthology, but obviously a lot closer to our time frame,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to modern history. Granted, it is just a lot of fishing stories.
Yeah.
In a sense, just over exaggerations. But I also am curious because I do know like there's a lot of like modern science, especially in like Emma's field, that does kind of reveal some of these things may have existed, but because of their like isolationist habits, we don't see them because boats make more noise.
Like the giant squid,
Mhm.
for a long time we thought it was a myth. And then in the past like 15, 20 years, we've discovered that it's actually a real life creature.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. Well, we like
Even-
knew they kind of existed, but we didn't know how big they could get because occasionally they'd wash up on shore dead, but we've never seen them
Yeah.
live. And then they're like, oh, maybe. And then someone just thought, well, what if we like find a way to not make noise and go explore the depths. What is this?
What if?
Boom.
And then suddenly, knowledge.
Knowledge.
Yeah, pirates are oddly superstitious.
Oddly.
Then again, as I mentioned, that might be lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say they're oddly superstitious. I feel like it's one of those things that's like, yeah, this seems par for the course. Like,
Yeah.
Like
it's like because you get like a bunch of people in a very isolated group together, and
For long periods of
for
time.
long periods of time, and they're gonna start like finding like air quotes patterns, and then that's gonna
Mhm.
build up these superstitions. Then they spread out to other ships, and then that carries those superstitions. Like, it's one of those that like it definitely makes sense. Like you can like even modern day, we can kind of see that with like the sport team bubbles of
Yeah.
like this sport team is gonna do this together, like that kind of thing. But-
Yeah. And one of those that comes to mind for me in sort of connection with that is there was that concept that having a woman aboard a ship brought bad luck. And that kind of makes me think of like correlation, not causation, in the sense of just because there's a woman aboard doesn't mean that their presence has caused all of these bad things you're running into.
Caused
You're
all the
just-
things.
They just cause all of it, if you will. But
Well,
yeah,
there was definitely female pirates as well.
yeah, there were.
I went through
Exactly.
a
That's-
major pirate phase, definitely started by Pirates of the Caribbean. And my library had this big like pirate dictionary that
Fun.
it like defined all like the piratey terms, whether they were like kind of mythologically piratey or like actually for real life piratey, and
Yeah.
had like all of the famous pirates and stuff listed in there too, with some biographies and stuff. It was really cool.
Nice.
I was very into pirates.
Do you like idolize Keira Knightley?
Yes, a little bit.
Or should I say
Just
Elizabeth
a little.
Swan?
There's this one. Yes,
Nice.
yes. I dressed up as a pirate for Halloween once as well.
Just once though? Such an easy look to put together.
Yeah, Ron
Yeah.
Swanson.
I think I wore that outfit more than once for sure.
It became my
A
casual
pirate
attire,
costume.
actually.
Yeah. I'm wearing it right now.
I wore it for Halloween once, and then like 6 months after that.
Yeah.
Like straight.
My pirate costume I put together at one point won just like a award at some mini costume thing. So it doesn't really count as an award because it was just like maybe 5 people were in the competition, but
I'd
Yeah.
still claim that.
yeah, I still claim it. I have it tucked away in a box somewhere.
All right. Have you read this book or author before?
I did not realize it was the same author until like I looked up what all else Stevenson had written. But I have read A Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Same.
Same guy?
Yeah, I did
Yep.
not realize that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I suppose I should have looked up the author beforehand, but
Yeah, that's the only one of his works that is familiar to me. But
I have read this before, or was supposed to read it before for class, but it's not that long of
you?
a book technically. No, I read Cliff Notes and Spark Notes. Ain't nobody got time for that.
we'll talk about it later when we honestly just watch the movie. Any of them, specifically the Muppet one, but just watch the
yeah.
movie.
Not a vote pitch there.
Or Wishbone. I'm pretty sure this was in the Wishbone, right?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Boom. Watch that. That's too bad you can't find it anywhere.
Hmm. All right. So, what did you know about the story before reading it?
For a long
John
time.
Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time, I would confuse it in my mind with the Robinson family that got stranded on an island at some point. But then I realized that they were different books.
Are they though?
No,
Are
really,
they?
I mean,
Not really.
that's kind of that thing of it's like this, like so many books have this exact same formula. Like it's such a generic, like not necessarily in a bad way generic, but like it's such like a stereotypical like story formula that it's
Yeah.
one of those that like you can see it a lot with even like the hero's quests where you can like cross out characters' names and just change it. Like this
Yeah.
book kind of has that same vibe where it's like, yep, this is the next beat. This is the next beat. This is the next beat. Like
Yep.
it's such like a well-known like story arc and story structure.
Yep.
And again, that's not necessarily a
Everything's-
bad thing,
yeah.
but
Everything's been done before. It's just a matter of how you do it that makes it different.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, the whole desert island thing was very popular in British literature during this time.
Yeah.
Begun by Robinson Crusoe, and then Treasure Island was kind of the climax of it. But yeah, Stevenson was influenced by a lot.
And now
Of
you can
those
just buy an
stories.
island.
Ta-da, your own desert island.
Why do you want it? Yeah, because it's deserted. That's the reason to buy it.
Yeah. Where no one can ever bother you again.
Leave me alone. Hey, you kids, get off my island.
That's probably the biggest introvert move you could possibly pull, is to buy your own private island and then just move there and don't tell anyone where you went.
Pretty easy to do, and there's areas where they're pretty reasonably priced.
Yep.
Just saying.
All right. Well, speaking of this being a familiar story arc, have you read other books like this?
Now
Not intentionally.
I have read Robinson Crusoe, but I've never been a big pirate person. I don't know.
That's fair.
I was always much more either let's go back farther, let's go straight up Middle Ages, like medieval fantasy, or we're going full sci-fi.
Yeah.
This is too close to modern history. Eh.
Too much real world for you?
yeah, I'll say I don't know if I've read like I think I read like Robinson Crusoe, the Gulliver's Travels, right? Like not really a pirate story, but like kind of that same like adventure-y thing. But I think most of like kind of go off what Chris said. I think most of this we see is like, or that I find more interesting is like the sci-fi tropes. Like it's funny to see the connections between like the pirate adventure story and modern sci-fi. Or a lot of those, like the idea of exploration, that idea of even like mutiny and things like that. All those play so well in sci-fi too.
Because ships.
Mm-hmm.
Where you've got
Yep.
basically Treasure Planet that's this, but in space.
I mean, unexplored territory plus ship equal pirate.
Equals pirate.
Right.
Yeah. All right. What was your favorite part?
My favorite scene, if you will, is when Silver comes under the trees to like get them to surrender, and because he has one leg, he ends up sitting on the ground, and everyone just refuses to help him stand up again. And they're just like, he's just like, help me up. No. You got there yourself. You're gonna get yourself back up again.
I like at the end when whatever ship's name is sailing away and the mutineers think they're saved when they see it, and I don't know. I just enjoyed that part because it's like, really, how dumb are you? You recognize the ship. You try to take the ship. It's
Mhm.
not going to save you. I'm sorry.
I liked the fight between Jim and Israel. Like they kind of have their like duel on the ship, like just kind of like in terms of like action scenes. Like that was one that was like really cool to get that like them maneuvering on the ship, dodging the masts and stuff like that, and like I thought that was really interesting.
Classic pirate moment.
Mhm.
I liked when the remaining crew that was very upset gave Long John Silver a black spot.
Mhm.
And I feel like in most of our references, the black spot is like, oh, you're going to die, or like somehow it's a curse and you're going to die now. But this was
Superstition.
just like,
Mhm.
yeah, this was more like the crew gives you a black spot, and like what it says on the other side is what's going to happen. And all they did was like depose him and be like, you need to answer for these things that we're upset about. And he's like, okay, here's my answer. And they're like, okay, you can stay captain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A sentence almost.
Long
But
John
most of the
Silver would
time-
be, or barbecue would be a bard. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
I'll
does
say
have
like
a way
the
with
black
words.
spot, like it was so weird when we see it the second time after the first person we meet, that
The first, what's his name?
what's his name, the original pirate.
Billy Bones.
No, Billy Bones was one of his crew members.
um
I think it was Billy Bones.
Billy
They
Bones
called
is
him
the
the
one that
captain.
dies. Yeah.
right.
He's the one that
Okay.
was staying at the
Okay.
hotel or whatever. He's the one they find the map off of.
Yeah, so it was so weird that like when the black spot comes back, like it's such a big deal then in the at the tavern, and then like when it comes up again, it's just like, oh, this is
He probably
Okay.
got feedback since it was an installment series and saying this is too scary for kids. He's like, okay, I'll tone it back a little bit, smidge.
Yeah. Well, and
Or
just
kids were giving other people black spots and expecting them to die.
yeah.
you know that was happening. I
You
guess.
know that
Yeah.
was happening.
in a very strained connection, there is a whole Doctor Who episode that has to do with pirates and black spots, where if the black spot shows up on your hand, you die. But this is a random connection. Anyway.
Mhm.
I'm sure that's where it came from.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just like that it's a reference to pirate democracy
Mhm.
because pirates
The code.
were democratic.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even in that portion, he goes in, explains his merits as captain. Long John does, saying by election, or I forget exactly what he says, but like, and he throws that out there. I'm just like, oh, sweet.
Yeah,
I mean,
look,
like,
here-
even a
here's what I've
mutineer is by vote,
accomplished.
essentially. Mutiny, not mutiny. Mutineer is the person that commits mutiny. Words.
All right. What was your least favorite part?
It dragged on.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing for me.
Chapters 3 through 30.
Like I
Oh.
definitely feel like it would have been a lot better. It's like you could take it and consolidate it down to like a more short story format of like maybe 40 to 60 pages and still cover most of the story, if not the entire story, and have it be considerably more interesting.
Mhm.
And because you limit yourself to that, I mean, that's not really a short story. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it, but like if you give yourself a limit of 40 or 60 pages with this story and try to like redo it. You could get creative.
Like a
Ways
script or
to-
something.
Yeah, like a script or something.
Like, maybe this is just better in other storytelling formats.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'll say, like, I assume they're all like, mine was divided into 5 parts.
So
And
is
they're-
mine.
Okay. I was assuming that was a normal thing. But like, for mine, or like with that, like, and so like that's roughly like 6 chapters per section.
Mhm.
And I feel like if each section was like 4 chapters instead of 6, like I just feel like I told this to Deanna, like I feel like the book was both much faster and much slower than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Because like it felt like a lot would happen and then nothing would happen for like 3 chapters. Then a lot would happen, then nothing would happen for 3 chapters. And
Yeah.
like I just feel like the pacing of it was my least favorite part.
Mhm. There was definitely stuff you could take out and still have the story be
Mhm.
perfectly fine.
Even
Like
kind
the
of like
stuff you take out,
the
you
big
can just
action
abridge.
things weren't actiony enough. Know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the back and forth between kind of dialogue and narration, or like retrospective narration. I didn't care for that writing style, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you all. I think my least favorite part was like those 3 chapters in the middle where the doctor was narrating, just
Mhm.
like they're setting up of the stockade and like going back and forth between the ship like 50 times.
Yeah.
I just like zoned out. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but it's not exciting right
They're
now.
setting up the stockade and going back and forth between the ship 50 times.
Yeah. That like that whole moment
Yeah.
you could easily sum up in like 2 paragraphs.
And
If
we
you
set
really
up the
felt it was
stockade
necessary.
and walked back and
Back
forth
and
between
forth
the
50
ship.
times.
50
And,
Yeah.
2
like,
seconds.
Stevenson literally does that at the end of the book, like when they're
Yeah.
transporting the treasure. Like he
It's
literally does that,
paraphrases.
and it's like it's one of those things. Like it's kind of that joke about like D&D campaigns, where like a 5-minute combat takes 3 weeks, but
'Cause
traveling across the country
players
takes
have
5
free
minutes.
will.
And it's like
It's like a
that's
video
kind of
game.
what
You
it
have
felt
fast
like.
travel.
Yeah, it kind of just felt like it's like all this stuff is taking so long, and then at the very end when they have the treasure, they're just like, and there was a bunch of coins, we moved it back and forth, now we're on the boat again. Like
Great.
it was just like, man, we could have done that earlier.
Yeah.
And in fact, you should have reversed it because I want to hear more about the treasure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my other part, sort of like towards the beginning, maybe, I think in the part 2, basically it summarizes that almost all of the problems are because the squire blabs his mouth. Like the whole reason that the crew members were these pirates and Long John Silver and stuff was because the doctor told the squire, don't tell anyone. And he turns around and tells people.
Also, why did no one ever heed what the parrot was saying? Parrot gave all the clues. Could have avoided so much if you just like, Parrot's saying the opposite of what you're saying. I don't think it has the ability to really lie.
It doesn't have a conscience.
Whereas you do. Interesting.
Very.
Also, how's that? I want to know more. Like, why lie up? 200 years old for a parrot? Come on.
That's a turtle thing.
That's a
That's a turtle
random.
thing.
That's the most random thing to lie about.
That's a turtle thing.
Great.
Not a parrot.
Turtle parrot.
Turtle parrot.
We're in Avatar
The
land now.
hybrid. Yeah.
Speaking of Flint, who was your favorite character?
Honestly, I really like Long John Silver at the beginning. Like I feel like because it's very obviously like set up that like Billy Bones is afraid of this person with one leg, And then you meet Long John Silver, who like conveniently is on board with this trip.
And
But,
has
like,
one leg.
And has
yeah,
one
like,
leg.
and he only has one, like,
And
it's
strangely, who's in the same establishment as him at the time you meet him.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And who gets away convenient, like that kind of thing. And like, it's very much like not a surprise that Long John is the bad guy, but like that early, like couple like chapters of Long John, he's a really fun character. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely could have carried through that beginning. Like in a lot of modern storytelling, we see like the evil character, the bad character, starts off with that same kind of smugness that Silver has, and like carry it through even when the main character is discovered he's a bad guy. But like in this, when the main characters discover that he's like, oh, the bad guy or whatever, that just stops. That could have been carried through and made him a much better character throughout and expanded on that in many ways.
Mine would be Ben Gunn.
I was
He
going to say the
just-
same.
He
Yeah.
just wants cheese. And I
He
relate.
just wants
Gunn was my
cheese.
number 2 because
Yeah.
he just wants cheese.
That's all he wants.
He's like, yeah, that Christian diet, I could use some cheese. Like, dude, I feel you.
But my
I
goats.
can relate.
But cheese. My goats. Cheese. Goats, cheese.
Priority 1,
Mhm.
cheese. Priority 0.
Well, I mean, it's
Or
cheese and also
priority.
get off the stranded island. Get
But
no
but
longer be
cheese
stranded on the island.
is prioritized over being stranded, getting off the island. Like,
One of the things I like about Ben is he's like actually competent.
Yeah.
Like, no, like
A
granted,
little
like
crazy and off because of isolation.
right,
Obviously,
but like as far as like he has goats. He's like made up like a home. He found the treasure. Like there's like all of these things.
he
And
made
it's
a
like,
boat.
Yeah, he made a like it's not the best boat, but
It's
he
not
made
the
a
best
boat.
boat,
But,
but
like,
it's a boat.
He's just like actually a competent person. And like I feel like even to go back to what Emma said earlier, like the idea that like basically the whole plot is the squire like blabbed his mouth, and then Long John blabbed about mutiny, and then like those are like the primary events of the story. And it's like, if Ben Gunn was here, like
None of this would have happened.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I like him. He saved
Yeah.
the book for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree with all of you. Silver and Ben are the stars of the book for sure.
Like Jim during his narrative sections. In the story itself, outside of his narration, get out of here.
I found myself confused to how old Jim was supposed to be. Like according to like the wiki, he's like mid-teens. Like at the very beginning of the book, I really like pictured him as like 8 or 9.
Same here.
And then like they're like it seems like it was one of those like from like the writer's perspective of like we're gonna just not talk about how old he is until we figure out how old we need him to be for the story, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then like they get to the island and it's like, oh, Jim's like super involved in all this planning. People want Jim's opinion. Like it's like, oh, I guess he's older than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wouldn't
when I
be
looked it up, it said he was around 12 or 13.
Which I think is like the media, like the movie portrayals, right? He's portrayed as younger. Like,
Treasure Planet, he's,
oh yeah,
I'd say like 16, 17.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I think in a lot of
Other
some of the
movies, he's
more
younger-ish,
modern
yeah.
interpretations are going to make him in that slightly older teenage range than 12 or 13. Because that is like in the 1800s when you hit 12 or 13, that's like you're an adult essentially. You're not totally, but that's when you start to become an adult. Whereas culturally now, you're considered more of an adult when you're 16, 17, 18. Also, I remembered one of my other favorite lines that I didn't mention.
That question comes later.
Does it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not
Because
even
we
looking at
talked
this.
about favorite scenes. Is that
Favorite
the same
parts. This isn't
or
a
part,
movie.
whatever?
Favorite quote is later on.
No, what? I had class like an hour ago. Okay.
And scene.
I finished reading the book like an hour ago. So
I'm still trying to figure out how this editing program works. So of course I'm thinking in scenes right now. Okay, I will save my quote then for later.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
they were getting
Who
on my
is-
case earlier, so.
Who's your least favorite character?
like I don't have strong feelings about anyone on the crew. Which I mean I guess they're not my least favorite. So I guess like by extension, probably the squire. Like the doctor was at least useful to the story. Like, so I guess
But
yeah.
without the squire, you have no story.
I mean, the squire also like could easily be replaced by anyone with wealth. Like,
It's true.
Mhm.
like basically all that the squire does is get the ship, which anyone could have done, and then not blabbed about it to a bunch of pirates.
Yeah. And he didn't, it wasn't like he tried to correct his mistakes later on in the story. Like if he had blabbed his mouth and then gone back and had some sort of character development later on and tried to correct his mistake or like admitted like, hey, this is my fault that we got into this.
I mean, it makes sense that he didn't admit any mistakes. Everything worked out. They had the ship, they got the ship back, and they got the money. They got the treasure.
But even
And
like
they're
when
on their
they're
way
in
home.
the
It's like
even when they're in the thick of it of like in their little wooden castle defending themselves or whatever, like in that scenario, then you could have been like, hey, I recognize this is my fault. Like we could be dead in the next 10 minutes. We don't know, but
But
No,
I
I think he still got to be cocky because he was the best shot. So
yeah, that's true.
it's a good reason to be cocky, though. Especially with those guns.
true.
Yeah.
Those are not crazy accurate.
No.
For me, it's definitely is Story Jim.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, he's the one that's supposed to be going through, but like, gosh, he gets into some weird moral high ground areas. I'm just like, whatever. I'm over you.
You're done.
Yeah. But like obviously the narrator version of him, when it's like all in retrospect, it's a lot better. He makes some great points throughout those little narrative pieces, and it's just watching him otherwise, I'm just like, oh my goodness. Stop.
What did the rest of you think of Jim as the narrator?
I mean, as a narrator, it was definitely interesting and like pretty all right. But then really when it changes to any other point of view, I definitely agree with Chris in the aspect of like, all right, you really need to work on yourself, if you will. I mean, granted, he is also a child, so but I feel like there are stories along the same adventure vein where you have characters who are children in the grand scheme of things who are more interesting than Jim as a character and more like one of the things we see a lot of the time and is generally the case with children is that kids are very observant and say what they think, whether or not it's morally, accurate. because they're kids. Like they haven't gone through that developmental phase of figuring out what morals are and what they stand by, but they'll still say what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're still very much observant about the world because they're trying to figure out how to exist in it. And so even in adventure books like this, there are child characters who are more interesting in the grand scheme of things that focus on aspects like that, where I felt like Jim was lacking as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets bold at times, but then it's like immediately dialed back.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't get you.
No one does.
Yeah, I'd say in general, I think like Jim was an adequate narrator. Like there was nothing that I was like, and maybe it's even Stevenson's writing style there, but it's like there was never anything that I was like, wow, crazy insight, Jim. But there was also like on the narrating side of it, there was never anything that I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In chat, since it is relevant, Queen Skywalker, Deanna, did the book portray any sort of relationship between Jim and Long John? Some things make John like a father figure, and yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very much in the book.
Yeah, I feel like that may be why we kind of like Long John more from the book or from that, because he makes some good points regarding his relationship with Jim throughout the story.
Yeah. And there's even like a chapter towards the end that's basically the two of them, just like the whole chapter is the two of them together. So like there's definitely that type of relationship through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they meet, they definitely hit it off and bond like right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And just develop a relationship in the beginning. And then even after, when they're kind of on different sides, like John basically saves his life from the other pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and vice versa here and there, but definitely I feel like John definitely takes that kind of at least mentory role, kind of picturing even toward the end where John is making his escape with his share of the treasure and everything. They have that conversation, and even like kind of hopes that Jim will eventually kind of end up on the seas and they might reunite for some more adventures.
But then he just has nightmares. No biggie.
all right, if you could hear these stories from another point of view, whose would you choose?
I think Ben Gunn would be kind of fun. Because it's a character that is completely separated from everything else that's happening until they arrive at the island.
Purple! Yeah, and I know there's like, I say I know. I was just doing some like looking around online, and there's like a spin-off book about Ben Gunn.
Oh, nice.
And I kind of think that getting like his story of him getting marooned and then like living on the island for 3 years, and then now finally people are here and kind of getting thrust into their politics, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
To agree with Emma, I definitely think that would have been a very interesting take on this story.
Yeah, because he doesn't have any preconceived political sides.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like living his marooned life on this island with no way to get off. And then suddenly one day, oh, look, these people show up that happen to have a connection to my historical past, which, yes, makes it seem like he has preconceived political sides, but it just ends up like that doesn't play into it in the way that it would in a complex manner today.
We also just don't learn enough about his past.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, what did you do for them to abandon you here, Jack Sparrow? I don't know. It's like Jack Sparrow is just Ben Gunn if he got the island a little sooner.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Just saying.
And he's just like, oh yeah, and I'm rich.
Rich.
I'm rich.
I don't know how to spend this anymore, but I don't know
Nor
how,
can I.
how does money work again?
Yeah. Is
How much
inflation
cheese
counted
can
in
I
that?
buy?
Yeah.
What you do is you spend it all in less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which connects to my favorite line, which I haven't mentioned yet because we're not there yet.
We're
Almost.
getting there. We're
Almost
getting
there,
there.
Almost there.
Okay. Did you find the world and the characters believable?
Yes,
No.
if not for its simplicity and predictability.
Yeah, not really. Like
I'll
maybe
say
like
that, like
from an
definitely the world.
Yeah.
Like it's such like a, I mean, especially like when it comes down to like adventure tropes versions of the world. Like there's nothing in this story that's like crazy. Like it's, I mean, to go back to kind of what I said earlier, like this is a very grounded pirate story.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, um, and so
And
like,
but it
in that
is
sense, yeah.
also it like in the context of the fact that it was written in the 1800s. Like by today's standards, it's very simplistic and very grounded, but I'm sure by the standards when it was written, it was very out there and very enticing and fantastical. Fantastical? Oh, whatever.
fantastical.
Fantastical, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Like very kind of like today's version of Pirates of the Caribbean, except much more simplified. Because of course,
Written for
There
a
is-
children's magazine.
written
Yeah,
for a
written for-
children's magazine.
Right.
So in that context, yes, I can find it believable, and in the context of like the adventure pirates world, yes, at least for me.
See, kind of like where I don't find this believable is mostly we don't necessarily get like travel time frames or anything like that. But
I mean, Chris, they
Where-
go from Spanish America to England in like 2 sentences,
exactly.
and conveniently nothing bad happens.
It's like I
Immediately.
feel like a lot more should but possibly happen on that.
Yeah.
And also they don't mention scurvy.
Which again gets into my point about the complexity versus the simplicity
Yeah.
of it.
They also well, never mind. They're taking off from England at that time. Never mind. Because there's a lot of apples in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized there's not apples at the end. Never mind. We're good.
But a lot of it,
And I was like,
Like,
where'd they get the
and-
apples on the way back?
in terms of scurvy, you want to steer more towards the oranges because that has the higher concentration
my point wasn't about the scurvy, like scurvy and fruit. It was just the realism of the world. But then I was like, never mind. The apples went away. But he was good there.
Yeah, maybe it's less believable in like real life standards, but I think in
Yeah.
the context of the story, there was nothing that made me like go
Mhm.
whoa or like
Yeah.
take me out of the story at all. So
Mhm.
it was believable enough.
I mean, historically, yeah, I can give it that. I mean, they mention a lot of things like slave trade and things like that throughout it, which was very prevalent in the area. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we'll give it to him.
We'll let it slide.
Which doesn't find Jim believable, I guess.
It all comes down to Jim.
It does, because he's like the primary protagonist. Or I'm just gonna give him. I'm not even gonna put pro in there. It's just antagonist. Is that how? That's how words work, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't get where his character development comes from, because
There's
just like
character development.
well, I mean,
That there wasn't any.
he gets
Right,
moments
but
of
like,
boldness.
that doesn't fall into like the believability of the world.
He
Like,
gets
that's just one
moments
of
of
those
boldness.
that's just not great writing.
I don't know where he like starts off so like not
You don't have a
quite the right
baseline
word.
for him.
Well, I mean, like if you use the parents as a baseline, you don't know why he's the way he is. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, because the mom is like a strong ass woman. And you're just
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Mm." And then he's like, oh, get out of here.
Got it from his dad.
We don't get much of the dad though. He's sick.
Yeah, he basically dies in the
Yeah.
first couple chapters. So
But it does say that he would like when Bones stopped paying his dues or whatever, the dad wimped out in terms of asking him for his dues.
To be fair, the mom didn't go ask either.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He was a scary
'Cause
pirate.
who's gonna listen to him? Well, also like the mom like has that moment like where it's like, oh, he passes away, and she's like, oh, just like, and then they're like panicking because there's a body and people might be back.
I mean, people destroying your livelihood does seem like a very good thing to panic about.
Yeah.
I mean, true.
Like when they've already shown that they're willing to fight.
Maybe they should have acted faster. Is all I'm saying.
But again, that doesn't fall into the
Also,
like the
Part of the
believability.
well, I mean, it does.
That's just like-
because how did the pirates react so fast? He left and came back all in like a day.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know where they were. Like they were not that far away.
Oh, I don't know.
Again, I like, to me, I put that, and I mean, this is definitely just us thinking of it differently, which is perfectly fine. But to me, that falls into like the convenient storytelling versus like the overall unbelievability of believability of the world and characters.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I can understand how that would be the other side too. Of it's like it's kind of unbelievable that there's all these convenient storytelling things happen. So
They just got fast travel, okay?
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
They open up the map and there's a little button they click on.
Why didn't they just do that for Treasure Island?
And then
Oh, wait,
they
they
get
did.
transported
Hadn't been
to
there
a
yet.
loading screen for
you got to get that PS5. No loading screens then.
Where can I buy one, Cameron?
Yeah.
Man,
Tell me that.
I got mine at Target.
You suck.
It's all right. There's like 2 games on it, so
Yeah.
I'm good for a while. Till spring.
I'll only start carrying
Then I'll start
when-
being better.
Sorry, I sidetracked us.
I'll only start carrying when Horizon Forbidden West comes out, and then I'll start really caring.
Okay. It's all you, Emma. Share a favorite quote and why.
Okay. Okay. So this goes back to the conversation earlier about their goal and stuff, but it's towards the end, and it's one sentence that says, all of us had an ample share of the treasure and used it wisely or foolishly according to our natures. And it made me laugh because it was very like, even though the characters were very surface level, you still got a sense of, like with that one sentence, how each character spent their money. Like it goes on to tell you, but it was just wisely or foolishly according to our natures.
Mhm.
So that was my sentence that I really liked.
My favorite quote is the exact opposite part of the book. And that's towards the very beginning, when we're first meeting Billy, and he says, "I'm a plain man. Rum and bacon and eggs is what I want." And I'm like, "Yeah, Billy." And then he died. But I was like, yeah. I was like,
Damn.
I mean,
Died
I'm not
from
a
a
big
heart
rum
attack.
fan, but like, I was like, man, I just want me some bacon and eggs and like that kind of thing.
I did like that part. He had like a whole half a page worth of an ode to rum.
Yeah.
I get
It's fair.
it.
No judgment there.
He's a pirate, okay?
Yeah.
Why is the rum gone?
Why is the rum always gone?
It's like immediately after being told by the doctor, no more rum.
Okay, any more
Is
rum?
it gone? Get me some more rum.
Addicts, man.
Yeah.
Chris or Janine, what was y'all's favorite quotes?
Cameron stole mine, so. I mentioned rum and bacon.
Two best things on the planet.
Well, rum's not the best, but I do enjoy it.
Some of the best things on the planet. How about that?
Well, I enjoyed a few quotes. One is in the letter that the squire writes, telling them he's got the ship and stuff. And he says, "Seaward ho, hang the treasure. It's the glory of the sea that has turned my head." It just seems so like
Poetic.
piratey.
He seems like he's trying so hard,
Yeah.
which like admittedly is like kind of what I liked about the Squire. Like he's kind of that guy that's like, I'm all in. Like I'm gonna be a pirate and like sail the seas. It's like, dude, you're the problem.
Yeah. Super oblivious to just
Yeah.
all of the issues he's causing.
Another line I like, spoken by Silver. "There was some that was feared of Pew, and some that was feared of Flint, but Flint his own self was feared of me." It's just like, ooh. Just piratey chills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shivers and pirate.
Shiver me
Shiver me
timbers.
Beat me to that one.
And we all fall apart here. This is
You proud of yourself there, Chris?
Yes.
All right. Any other quotes that anyone has?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do,
there
but
any-
I can't think of it.
The one thing that kept throwing me off was the use of the word loopholes.
Yes.
Because every
Mhm.
time it was used, I kept thinking, wait, the like political like thing with laws where you find a way to benefit yourself.
Because
That
you
one
got the
always got
code,
me.
which always has loopholes.
Yeah, I was like, did I just like miss a paragraph? It's like that. Do I need to go back and reread?
Yeah.
Like
Like-
that one got me several times.
It's because since the code is more like guidelines, it's more like guidelines because there's so many loopholes.
Except in this case, loopholes is basically a reference to little windows in a wall for shooting at people.
Gotta get him.
So, that being said,
Indeed. Was there anything in the book that surprised you?
not really.
Yeah.
Again, it
Um,
seemed pretty simplistic and rather predictable for the most part. Not in a bad way, but just
And like I think a lot of us had seen
Yeah.
the movies and it's all
Variations.
in the movies.
yeah.
And it's again, it's one of those trope like storytelling styles that's so common.
Yeah.
And so there's not really any Or even it's that kind of thing of like, oh, I know a twist is going to happen. Oh, look, the twist happened. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like that type of storytelling. But yeah, I would say overall, nothing was surprising.
Yeah, all the elements have become so tropey. It
Mhm.
was quite predictable.
It's like watching reality TV.
I'm sure if we were kids in the 1800s reading the magazine, we
I
would have
wouldn't
been
be
like,
allowed to read in the 1800s, so
if we were all in the scenarios in the 1800s where we could read.
Where we were interested in
where we
childhood
were all
finance.
white. Okay, I see how it is.
I'm sure it would have been
And
unpredictable.
wealthy.
But that being said,
I mean,
for where we
it
are
was a
today,
finance magazine for children.
That's the joke I made, and we just glazed past it.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to you, Cameron. I
I know.
apologize.
Okay. Did you notice any biblical or theological themes?
I saw biblical references, kind of.
a good Christian diet,
Yeah, the good Christian.
cheese,
Cheese.
cheese.
Or like some of like the superstitions kind of then connecting to being a good Christian person. Like, well, you're pirates.
Mhm.
You're superstitious, semi-religious, and bad people.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Explain your moral theology to me.
So I'll say there was kind of like the idea of like the wolf in sheep's clothing. And kind of hit on that earlier with Long John, where like when we first meet him, like again, it's very much set up that he's the bad guy. But like when you first meet him, like he's such an like interesting and charismatic person that you can very much see like how he becomes the feared pirate kind of thing.
Except for his nickname, Barbecue.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm still so confused by that reference.
He's the cook.
I mean, yes. But I mean, then he gives this weird story about how he got the name. Like, what? And also, how prevalent was barbecue back then? Just saying.
Not very.
I assumed it was a
Prevalent
word that
enough.
meant something else. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of where
that's where I was going.
That's
I'm
probably
like,
the
this is from
case.
the 1800s. What did barbecue mean back then, and why is it referenced here? And then I couldn't find anything.
I chalked it up as something that probably didn't mean the food, and I wasn't interested enough to look up what it probably meant. And
Which,
so,
for several hundred years later, makes for a very interesting interpretation of the word.
Yeah.
In the context of the story.
right.
So should Long John Silver's serve barbecue?
If,
I'd probably eat
if
there
I
more.
were to do a modern day
Right?
interpretation of this, yes, 100%.
It's like actually get rid of all the fish and just do barbecue as a reference to this story. People would be like, I'm not smart enough. I never read it. Sorry, just kidding.
Sucks for you then.
Yeah.
I'm getting mean. No.
And then I think one of the other themes is like just the idea of being discerning.
Mhm.
Like the Bible talks about like the
Listen
idea of
to
like
the
test the
parrot.
false prophet, that kind of thing.
Parrot.
And so you like, there's so much stuff that was like, I mean, going back to the Squire, going back to all of that, there's so much of just like the idea of like if you were a discerning person and again tested the people that like this is very obviously a trick, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Oh, and I
so
met
crazy.
this guy named Long John Silver, and he just so happened to know a whole crew of people.
Yeah.
And
Like what's so crazy also is that let's trust a ton of strangers to take us to this island to find the treasure instead of letting a few people we actually trust that we can probably recruit to come with us and find the treasure.
Mhm.
Again, discerning.
Don't tell anyone. Or tell the people you actually like and take them with you. Mom would have made a better captain, just saying.
My mom would have made a better captain. Well, the captain actually.
No,
is like,
literally, Jim's mom would have made a better captain.
oh, Jim's mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you said your mom,
Absolutely.
and I think your mom probably would have made a better captain.
Yeah.
Like I
That
was
too.
agreeing with what I thought you said.
But my mom would make a great captain. Keep that entire ship in line with a wooden spoon. And a sandal.
Yeah. I can see it.
But I might prefer her to be in the galley because that food would be great.
Then her name would be barbecue.
I'm gonna start calling my mom barbecue.
Please do.
Please. Just for the sake of it. Just for the sake of the reaction.
Why are you calling me that? Well, you see, Mom. Recently read Treasure Island. And a few things. For one, we think you'd make a great ship cook.
So what do you do though?
And
You gotta get
following
that,
a mutiny,
that
you'd
shameless
be
self-promotion. Is you just got to send her the link to this video where we explain the joke, and then we get a view.
And then I have to walk her through how to watch it. I mean,
Just click the link.
that's like a
put
whole
it in.
hour.
It would take more time to explain that to her.
And now that
than
I
to
said
just
that, it's even
explain
worse
it
if
to
I try
her.
to send it to her and she just magically happens to be able to open it. She's like, "What'd you say about me?"
Okay, I'll send it to your mom. Don't worry.
Don't make me burp on the podcast so your mom can't listen to it.
Okay.
I will address that question after the show, Deanna.
Or just type it.
Or just type it. That might mess something up, and I'm scared.
All right. Back to biblical themes.
Sorry.
They did talk about the Bible quite a lot towards the end. They give Silver his black spot on a sheet of the Bible.
So desecration. Okay, one mark against them.
Well, they
okay.
make a big deal
Yeah,
about
they do
having to
make
use
a
a
big deal
Bible.
about that.
Like that is a plot point. Like
Yeah. A quote about it says, "One side was blank, for it had been the last leaf. The other contained a verse or two of revelation. These words among the rest, which struck sharply home upon my mind. Without are dogs and murderers." Which, if you are curious, is Revelation 22:15.
I wasn't. No, I'm sorry. Just,
Thanks.
I'm just. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
But yeah, that passage basically just talks about the end times. Jesus is coming soon. The righteous will be welcomed in, and the unrighteous will not.
the righteous, like the good pirates.
Oh, the irony.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be a good
By far
pirate.
the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Ah, but you've heard of me.
Okay, so like good pirate. So are you saying you're good at pirating? Or
You're a
I'm saying now we're
pirate
getting
with-
sidetracked off of our questions.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm just saying there's two meanings.
Yeah.
They just took it the wrong way.
And then, yeah, so they do make a big deal about having desecrated the Bible, and the one pirate continues to carry around his Bible almost seemingly as like a talisman or something against ghosts on the island,
Right.
or like bad things that will happen to them. And it's really,
It's more of a ward for superstition than any actual belief in the text.
yeah,
It really reminded me of like the vampire things. Of it's like you hold up the cross that stops a vamp, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. They can't come into your house unless you welcome them in.
Yeah, like it kind of felt that same way. Of I don't know what this is. I just know that this stops things, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's good to believe in God in the Bible. What does the Bible say about God? I don't know, but I'm gonna carry it around with me just in case.
Or maybe it's like this outsider perception that obviously like you've seen in other instances, maybe not necessarily in your own life. Power of God through Christianity and faith. And so now you emphasize that power, but emphasize it on a object instead of within your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very well said.
And even like historically, most individuals who were pirates couldn't even read. So it was probably even just a symbolic thing. Like maybe that character couldn't even read it, but it was more of a symbolic concept for them.
I think that character could read it. It said he had
Okay.
been brought up right before he fell in with the wrong crowd.
Okay.
So
And he's the one
it
that
seems
wrote
like he would have had the background.
Okay. I glazed over that part.
No, it
No,
was
I'm
his
missing him.
Bible. A different character wrote on it.
the would-be captain.
Yes.
That's right.
All right. Did anything else stand out to you?
I thought it was really interesting that Ben like moved all the treasure by himself. Now, granted, like he's been there for 3 years, so
also
like
push
there's
in the
plenty of
skeleton
time.
and everything.
But
too.
the idea that like this dude got marooned on a random island and then basically stumbled across the treasure, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna hide this in my cave." I was like, I both thought that was a good like juke, but also like it's like, well, okay. Again, it was kind of like that convenient storytelling.
Yep.
Of like, well, I had nothing else to do, so I moved all the treasure today. Like,
Yeah. And I feel like Ben Gunn was probably the most well-developed character for coming in so late in the story. And little things like that of just, oh yeah, he just moved the treasure because he could. And he was probably bored.
So what else I'm gonna do? Talk to a volleyball?
Well said.
I mean, he had his goats to keep him company, so.
Goats or cheese?
Jeez.
Always buy more goats.
But he couldn't because they're on an abandoned island.
Yeah, but when he got, because he wasn't debating while he was on the island whether or not to leave the goats. He's stranded. He has his friends. I'm just saying, cheese is a good incentive to leave, especially when you're going to get money to buy more goats.
Yeah. Especially if it's good
So
cheese.
why didn't he make goat cheese? Were all
He
the
could
goats
barely make a
male?
boat,
No,
so
I'm
I'm
just
gonna
He can barely make a
I'm gonna
boat.
share my doubts on his ability to cultivate milk into any type of cheese that would be like edible.
I mean, if you really want
Respectable.
cheese, you would figure it out. How long was he there? I would have figured it out by then. No, I wouldn't have.
That's fair.
No,
Not by myself. Never mind. I'm lying. I need Google for that.
that would have not been a believable part of the world.
No, not at all.
Okay. How did the story compare with other pop culture representations? Fun fact, there have been over 50 film and TV adaptations of Treasure Island, which include movies, animes, spaghetti westerns, foreign films, TV episodes, and our beloved Wishbone. It has also been adapted for theater,
I'd
other
watch a
books,
play. of
comics,
this.
music, and video games.
I would watch a play. I'd watch a theater performance of this.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I agree. I think watching whether a theater performance, a movie show would really help with the fact that it kind of felt like there were just always more crew members.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of dialogue
Mm-hmm.
that just lends this to that format or other formats.
Mhm.
That like like there are so many parts of this that just read like a script.
Mhm.
No, I mean, yeah.
Definitely.
What does it? But that's okay.
Yeah.
What?
Not a good script.
Not
But-
a
I
good
didn't say it was a
script.
good script,
And
but
not
I mean,
a
just, like,
properly written script either.
that's not the point. Like, I'm just
Given
saying,
that I had
like,
to read a 114-page script about a man who farts for class yesterday,
Wow.
you know.
scene 1, black screen. Light up 2. No, I'm just... Sorry. But, I mean, like, just in general, like, adapting this to a script would be a lot of easy because
Yeah.
it is so dialogue heavy. And really all the importance happens in dialogue. And then they skip over everything else.
I'll say like reading this very much reminded me of when I read the Odyssey,
Ugh.
where it was like I'd read the abridged versions of the Odyssey, and then reading the real Odyssey reminded me of why I would only ever read the abridged versions ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I had to read it in
It's like,
sixth grade.
thank you,
and it-
high school textbooks,
Yeah.
for not because obviously it'd be its own book in itself. But
And so like this kind of reminded me of that, where so many of the pop culture representations of this story are so good,
Mhm.
but it's because they chop out so much of it and they just leave you with the good parts of this story.
yeah, can you imagine how long it'd take the film setting up the bear and watching back and forth to the boat 50 times?
Yeah. Which goes back to my point earlier. You could shorten this considerably
Mhm.
and have it be way better.
Also, not enough sea battles.
Yeah. I can agree on that.
And going back to other themes now, a couple other things that include for a good adaptation. But turtles and suddenly aliens.
Please expand.
Just throwbacks to other First Geek references.
Suddenly aliens.
That's what they should have encountered on the island. Just saying. Or a predator. I don't know. Just
Right. Now I'm
boom.
connecting the dots.
Classics.
Suddenly.
And I don't even remember what we were talking about when we said everything's better but turtles. I mean, oh, that was our top 3 movies as children or something. It's like 2 weeks ago. Cameron made the reference. Cameron made it up. It's like everything would be better.
I'm gonna
if
be
it was
honest
just
with you. I
turtles.
say things on the podcast.
I know.
And like I
Oh, yeah, 'cause
literally
we-
like listened
yeah.
back to the podcast editing and not remembered I said things.
We were talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, I 100% remember the
And then Cameron
conversation.
said probably everything would be better if it was just turtles.
And that definitely seems like something I would say.
Yeah. So I'm
It
just
seems
saying
like that would be a
Treasure
really cool
Island,
t-shirt.
but turtles and suddenly alien. Boom.
Now it's getting
Okay.
into the area of Indiana Jones where there's just suddenly aliens.
Yeah, they didn't actually encounter the alien though.
But there were still aliens. That's the whole point of the end of the movie.
And predators are technically aliens too. Just throwing that out there.
Or were we the aliens the whole
I
time?
mean, it's on our planet, so. Question is, were we originally from another planet?
in chat, Shanine, save them.
Okay. So, would you read more by Robert Louis Stevenson?
No.
Too old timey.
It's probably not.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably the first author where I've like legitimately just been like, I'm okay. Like,
It's fair.
Yeah.
I think I would, but it depends on what it is.
There's a reason why his other works aren't classics.
Well, I mean, Dr. Jekyll.
I mean,
Yeah.
he has 2 classics.
which is
No,
more
that's
than
right.
six.
Name another work. I dare you.
Well, according to Wikipedia.
According to Google.
That you've actually heard of.
Okay, and to wrap it up with a fun question, what do you think of the recent popularity of sea shanties? Why do you think they've become so popular, and do you
gonna be-
yourself enjoy them?
Yeah, complete honesty, this book needed more sea shanties.
100%.
It kind of
yeah.
just did the like couple lines of like the very stereotypical yo ho
Well,
yo ho,
yeah.
like
Okay.
that kind of thing. But like,
Question.
I wanted me some more sea shanties.
Is the Wellerman a sea shanty?
I don't know.
Everyone on the internet says
It's
it is.
not.
Yeah.
You want to know
So
why it's not a sea shanty?
Because they didn't sing it on the sea.
Well, no, yeah, well, pretty much actually. Because sea shanties are designed with a specific rhythm in mind, and that is to sing
Yeah.
while rowing a boat to maintain
rhythm.
Rhythm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
due to the primary chorus of the Wellerman, it would not be a good song for maintaining that rhythm.
Yeah.
But
But yeah.
do I like
absolutely.
the song? And I like the fact that, you know, all you got to do. As a drinking song, it's perfect. And if that's what you consider to be a
Mhm.
shanty, we're good.
Yeah. And I think something that does sort of stick it in that category by today's standards is that it follows
We
a
don't
lot
have
of
to row
the,
anywhere.
we don't have to row anywhere. But also it does fill a lot of the other sort of definitions of a shanty. And sea shanties in general are considerably different than a lot of other music that is listened to today. Like it's very, you can throw it on and be able to identify a sea shanty, whether or
Mhm.
not you've heard it, pretty easily in comparison to like alternative versus
Yeah.
punk rock or whatever. Like, and I think that's part of why sea shanties are becoming more popular is because they do have a unique sound to them that is different from a lot of other music that is floating around.
Yeah. And honestly, if you've ever actually been to an authentic Irish pub, I just need more of that in my life.
It's so fun. It's so enjoyable.
When can we go back to conventions?
Did they sing
So-
sea shanties there?
not sea shanties, but shanties. Or
It's-
what are the Irish things called now?
I don't know.
Their drinking
Question was about
songs are
sea
so
shanties.
much fun.
Yeah. I did St. Patty's Day with a friend's family a couple years ago. Actually, 2019 Emerald City Comic Con, I did St. Patrick's Day with them, and their family tradition is to go to an Irish pub, and everyone gets an Irish coffee, and they all drink sea shanties, and it was one of the funnest days I had ever had.
It's almost like I was there.
You weren't for that specific part of it, but
Probably not, but we ended up at our Irish pub, and there was a band or a group playing, and they were phenomenal. And now I forget what. Now I'm gonna look that up. Okay, sorry. Don't let me derail us, Shanine. You yell at me.
Sea shanties, Chris.
Sea
I even
shanties.
tried to bring us back. Like,
The Dead Man's Chest one that they
Mhm.
sing several times throughout Treasure Island, I believe is actually fictional that Stevenson wrote, but there are versions that exist to listen to now.
Mhm.
interesting.
Yes. I'm pro shanty.
Same.
I do like them. They're very catchy.
Mhm.
I like the TikTok trend of telling current events through them.
Absolutely.
It's like
the
I would watch a
Wellerman
newscast
one.
of shanties. Not gonna lie.
So would I, now that you mention it.
I never thought about it, but
Yeah.
It's like, can we put together a news network where if you're gonna tell the news, it has to be in shanty form?
I mean, you can if you want to get involved in that, Chris. Like,
Oh no, I'm not that creative.
yeah, you can start the TikTok with Emma, and y'all can
Yeah.
do the whole thing in Shanty form.
Uh-uh.
Great.
Like,
I was just saying, hire
Otherwise, this
us,
seems
Sign
like
me
a
up.
project that I get stuck with.
hire us
And so-
SNL, Saturday Night Live, or take our idea and pay us $50 each. It's a pretty simple idea, so I figured $50 was reasonable.
How about they pay one semester of my tuition instead?
That's asking a
I'd
lot.
be okay with that. So it's just one semester.
Okay. Any final thoughts on Treasure Island?
Go watch the movie.
Highly recommended. Maybe.
Or
I don't
listen
know.
to the
I don't know if I've
audiobook.
actually seen it.
The audiobook adaptations are pretty good.
That's what I did for part of this. I did like a public domain audiobook.
There are many renditions, so it is likely that you will find one you will enjoy.
Or just watch Pirates of the Caribbean.
Or that.
There is that. There is a lot of similarities.
But also Krakens. That's what this was missing, was the actual full-on mythological.
I want to remind everybody, Chris had trouble with the believability of the pirates leaving and coming back the next day. But Krakens, that's okay.
Yeah. Because giant squids are real.
Yeah. Now, the current debate, I would just like to say, is whether or not colossal squids are a thing,
Exactly.
which just makes it even better.
Do I
in
think a
my
Kraken's
humble
the size
opinion.
of a ship? No. Do I think it could take someone down to the depths of the sea? Absolutely. I just want one person just needed to die by giant squid, Cameron. One.
Yeah, just one person.
And I would have bought the entire story.
Okay.
I'm gonna
So-
have to go with Chris on this one.
I
So
mean, it
maybe
would make
the
it more
un-
interesting. I'm not disagreeing with that.
The-
I'm just bringing up the ironic, like
The
how ironic it is
unbelievability.
that Chris had trouble with the
Yeah.
believability of people leaving and coming back.
The
but not
unbelievability of the
giant
story
squid.
is that it's too believable for my fantastic mind to comprehend.
Agreed.
Feel like we need some kind of t-shirt about a giant squid and believability.
Emma, I believe.
I'm on it. Put it in the Google Doc.
Okay, let me do that real quick.
Something about giant squids and
Yeah.
believability. I'll get
I'm
it.
going to include several question marks in that.
I'll
It's
get
actually-
it and I'll run with it.
It's a giant squid and just question mark pattern.
Yeah.
Boom.
Giant squids make everything more believable.
Also, I still need
There,
my
there it is. Good job, Emma. This is why you're the creative one.
I still need my centaurs and our insects.
I'm
shirt.
working on it. Okay, it's so designing things is gonna become my the homework avoidance thing.
Because that might be my favorite idea.
Yeah, which I've come up with a couple of great ideas for that. I just haven't actually executed them yet. So
If I
I'm
could
thinking
draw,
about it.
I know I have a picture of it in my mind.
Same.
Just I can draw maps. I can't draw life things. Because maps, you just draw a shape and color it in. Doesn't have to look like anything because continents don't look like anything.
Emma, I also
Yeah.
added the turtles to the doc.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Okay, so as we have mentioned, there are many movie forms of Treasure Island. We will be organizing a watch party for one of them. I think we will post a poll to see which one we would like to watch as a community.
It's gonna be
So
Muppets. I'm calling it.
Stay
now.
tuned for that. Muppets. I do love Muppets. I haven't seen that one in a really long time.
I'm just predicting people are gonna see that on the list and be like, "Yeah," because
I'm down for Muppets.
people are
Yeah.
gonna
Also-
ignore the Treasure Planet option because they're like, "Sure, I kind of remember that, but Muppets."
I do like Treasure Planet too, though. but the Wellerman Sea Shanty with Kermit is probably the best one. So I'm down for Muppets. Our next book club will be on a date in February.
On a date sometime.
Third Thursday.
Sometime.
February
We're not going to
25th.
tell you. We're just
Yep.
going to do it.
February 25th. Okay. And we will be reading Ready Player One.
I'm excited. This is the first book that we've done that I say this now, I gotta stop and think. The first book that I've read before, like, or that I've read in entirety before. And so,
Best part is it's gonna make it a quick read.
Yeah.
And since February is a short month,
Here,
I need a
have
quick
it.
read.
yeah.
Woo.
Ooh, is that hardcover?
It is.
Nice.
I have the matching set.
Whoa.
Nice.
I'm prepared.
It sure would be crazy if we did Ready Player 2 in March. Whoa.
Who'd have thought?
Also, props
Like-
to us for actually being prepared. Like,
If you
and by prepared, I mean planning this like
Without
literally
looking,
right before the stream started.
what is the March date for our book
for
club?
Treasure Planet?
for our book club? Without looking at the calendar.
I'm gonna say
Couldn't tell
March
you.
27th.
Okay, Cameron. There are literally 4 weeks in February. Exactly.
Oh, is it March 25th as well?
Yes.
To be fair, like I didn't know. Like I don't keep like is it a leave? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, true. Leap year was last year, right?
Yeah, it was.
And this is not, in fact, 2020
Again.
part 2. Thank God.
I sure hope not.
And then for some other announcements, this Saturday, Chris and I will be taking part in the Great Commander Showdown over on the Infinity Bros Twitch channel. 5 p.m. Central Time. We'll be playing some Magic the Gathering.
Not gonna
And
lie, I
then-
almost forgot.
Can't do that, Chris. We need you.
It's been a busy week.
And then Monday, we'll be back with our normal episode. We'll be chatting about the geeky news, then the top 3 things you would give or tell your 10-year-old self and why, which was submitted by Chunk the Hut.
And tentatively, February 11th will be session 0.
Oh, D&D stream
Woo.
hype.
I'm so excited.
Send us
I'm thrilled.
your campaign name ideas. I named the world, but I don't have a campaign name.
Chris, you're the only one that knows about what the plot's gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It seems like a you thing to name the campaign.
You're the one that proposed the idea. I was just gonna name the world, name some NPCs for you guys.
I'm just over here trying to market it. I'm taking your idea. We're going to put a cool name on it. Then someone other than me is going to make graphics. Then I'm going to post those graphics places.
Okay. I mean, just post the map. Map's the graphic. It's done. I have a name for the world, but I don't have a campaign name.
You got till the week of the 11th.
What do campaign names sound like? I mean,
You just Google D&D campaign.
yeah,
names.
and then it's just all going to be adaptations of Critical Role. Should we do Critical Role, but with 2 L's instead? Because it's a dice roll instead of a role play. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so stay tuned for all of those exciting things. One last time,
Nice
we
move on,
are
Janine.
Yeah,
You
she,
get credits.
that was great.
Props.
we are First Geek 411. Find us on all the socials as One Geek 411. Come and chat with us on our Discord server. Email us at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Watch live on our Twitch and find the videos on our YouTube. Rate and subscribe on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Check out the show notes on our website, onegeek411.com, and check out our sister podcast, Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust. I am the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES on Instagram.
I'm Himar Whittle.
I am not prepared with an eye.